Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Firewall Dragon Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile for June 2024. Wanted to update the Cyberse deck that focuses on being able to summon out the many different variants for Firewall Dragon. We received the newest one, which was Firewall Singularity, a good while ago, and since then I've updated the deck with some changes to the actual special summon playstyle that you want to go for in the deck, being able to summon out your Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Ritual monsters, or even just setting them up in the graveyard to then gain the additional counters for some of your stronger Firewall monsters, while making use of the link climbing that the deck is meant to do with all of your other main deck monsters to summon out your link 4, 5, and 6 variants for Firewall Dragon. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. For our Firewall monsters, there aren't really too many Firewall monsters for the main deck, but our go-to 3-ofs include 3 Firewall Defensor. If it's sent to the graveyard as material for the link summon of a Cyberse monster, you can special summon 1 Firewall monster from your deck, except for Firewall Defensor. And then also, you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect, except for Cyberse monsters. And if a Firewall monster you control will be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So it gives you access to your other Firewall monsters we run, including protection for our Firewall monsters on the field, but the other ones we run are the 1 Firewall Guardian and the 1 Firewall Phantom. With Firewall Guardian, if it's sent to the graveyard as material for a link summon of a Cyberse monster, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. So just like Defensor, just continues to go into your many different plays in the deck. And when an attack is declared involving your link monster and an opponent's link monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard to then negate the activation. If you do end this turn, the original attack until the end of this turn. It doesn't end the turn until the end of this turn, so it just negates the attack, and then at the end of the turn, the original attack of the opponent's monster becomes 0. So more of the Guardian playstyle that this card's meant to do. With Firewall Phantom, if it's sent to the graveyard as material for the link summon of a Cyberse monster, you can add 1 Signet spell or trap from your deck to your hand, then discard 1 card. And we have a good variety of different Signet spell and traps that we run in the deck, and you can banish this card from your graveyard during the end phase of this turn to shuffle 1 Cyberse monster from your graveyard into the deck, giving you more recycle power if there's a particular one of that you want to research or go back into from the deck also. For more of our bigger numbers of cards that we run in the deck, 3 copies of Parallel Exceed, just another resource that if you link summon, you can summon out of the field and then grab another copy, giving you more and more of those resources to use, plus with the use of Firewall Phantom, being able to shuffle back a Cyberse monster from our graveyard into the deck, we can then have the final Parallel Exceed active with that other target that we shuffled back into the deck also. Also running 3 copies of Lady Debug. When it's normal or special summon, you can add 1 level 3 or lower Cyberse monster from your deck to your hand, going as this effect once per turn. But we do run some cards like Signet Backdoor, being able to target a Cyberse monster we control, banish it, and then add 1 Cyberse monster from your deck to your hand. So having search power off of the summoned Lady Debug, and then also just the search off of it after banished with one of the higher attacks for our Cyberse monsters in the main deck to begin with also, or even going for that power up. Some of the searches we go for with Lady Debug include the Micro Coder, because we are running a small Code Talker package in the deck as well, just for more of the link climbing power. If a Cyberse monster you control will be used as link material for a Code Talker monster while this card's in your hand, it can be used as material. And if it's sent from the hand or field of the graveyard, you can add 1 Signet spell or trap from your deck to your hand. But if it's used as a material on the field, you can add 1 level 4 Cyberse monster instead, giving you the search for cards like Firewall Defensor if you do have your Micro Coder on the field. 2 copies of Code Generator, along with the 1 copy of Code Radiator and the 1 copy of Code Exporter for the Earth, Water, and Wind search targets for our Signet option for when we get the search of Signet Codec off of Microcoder, then having the additional search for these cards to add off of some of the Code Talker monsters in the extract that we may go into also. But as I said, it's just a small engine to use because the main focus for the extra deck summoning with the deck is the Firewall monsters that we'll summon out. And a lot of times you can use like cards like the level 3 Code Generator as Xyz power to go into cards like Cyberse Reminder, and then Exporter and also Radiator for more send and setup, just like Generator can do also. For some of the lower numbers, we also run 2 copies of Widget Kid. Being another level 3 monster, it can be used for the rank 3 Xyz play to get Cyber's Reminder on the field to be our Xyz summon, and also the 2 copies of Cyber's Gadget to get back our lower level monsters in the graveyard to the field, also giving us a token. Being a Cyber's level 2 token as well, it can be used with our tuner in the deck to summon out cards like Cyber's Integrator to the field for the Synchro play, which Integrator, being a level 3 monster, can also be used to overlay into Cyber's Reminder, which is what I like about these cards, because they help to go in to some of the other plays to stack up the extra deck plays all the more quickly into the graveyard. Also, 1 Link Infra Flyer as a wind target as well when we go into a wind Code Talker monster with our extra deck, and the 1 Dotscaper for more special summon resources if it's sent to the graveyard or if it's banished, whether it be with Signet Backdoor or our Signet Mining and sent to the graveyard. With the last of our main deck monsters being the 1 copy of Cyber Sage being our ritual monster to go into. It can be searched and set up with cards like Cyber Switch being a level 1 ritual, all the more easier to summon out. We can even just use Dotscaper to ritual summon it. And then also, during your main phase, you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra by banished materials from your field or graveyard, including a Cyber's monster. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can target 1 Cyber's monster or a ritual monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So that gives you the add back power as well. If it's sent as synchro material, then to add back just another potential resource that could be resummoned onto the field. But you can use Cyber Sage to go into your fusion play, your synchro play, and then also the synchro play can go into your Xyz play, stacking up all the different extra deck summons in the graveyard for you then to use with your bigger Firewall monsters. For these spells, running 3 copies of Signet Mining. Just more search power. You send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard to add 1 level 4 or lower Cyber's monster from your deck to your hand. So you have that search as well as some potential setup in your graveyard, or depending on what you add, you can then use that monster to summon back the resource you summoned to the graveyard, depending on the monster that you sent. And also the 3 copies of Signet Backdoor. More search power just by banishing a Cyber's monster we may have as well. And then during the next standby phase, return that monster banished by this effect to the field. All you have to do is target a Cyber's monster and then add 1 from your deck to your hand. So it can also be a quick play to respond to a card that your opponent may have that would have either destroyed or done something else with that monster on the field. You can use Backdoor as the final part of the chain, getting rid of that monster while avoiding the destruction or the card that your opponent may try to use against it. And then the 1 copy of Signet Codec and the 1 copy of Signet Optimization for more Code Talker summons and activation restrictions, along with the search power that Codec can provide. And then 1 copy of Signet Rollback for more of the banish option. If you have to banish a card off of your Cyber Sage, you can summon it back with Signet Rollback, and having Signet in its name, it's searchable. The 1 copy of Signet Ritual, which with this card, most of the time you'll want to go for the Cyber Switch play, because then you can search both the spell and the ritual monster off thanks to Cyber Switch. And also the 2 copies of World Legacy Succession for more special summon power from the graveyard, using our Link Arrows as just the place you have to summon them to. And the 1 copy of Monster Reborn as just an easier summon altogether for our play, with the only trap that we run in the deck being the 2 copies of Signet Conflict. It revolves more around the Code Talker lineup, so if you wanted to run Infinite Impermanence, you can always put it in this spot, or even Backup Secretary as a level 3 monster to work more easily with cards like Widget Kid if you didn't want to run traps in the deck to begin with. For the Firewall monsters, running 1 of the original Firewall Dragon, having the option once while facing on the field to target monsters on the field in your graveyard up to the number of co-link cards with this card, return them to the hand. So it could be your own monsters, your opponent's monsters on the field, you name it, just to be bounced back to the hand. And if a monster this card points to is destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Cyber's monster from your hand, extending more and more your plays if used off of a link play, to then summon another monster to 1 of these arrows to then go into your bigger plays like Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid, needing 3 or more effect monsters to summon this card, gaining the additional counters on this card for every different fusion, synchro, or Xyz or ritual monster in your graveyard. That's why we run all 4, to be able to stack up this card, hit for some counters along with some negation effects, and also 2500 attack for each counter on this card during the battle phase only. The 1 Neo Tempest Terahertz and the 1 Firewall Dragon Singularity for the added Firewall monsters to be able to go into with the deck, with more of our setup being the 1 Cyber Switch, the 1 Code Talker Inverted, the 1 Code Talker, the 1 Protect Code Talker, the 1 Xcode talker, along with the 1 Link 1 option for Link decoder, since sadly Link Haribo is banned, with the 1 update jammer for more of the attack twice option to either go with our Firewall monsters or the 1 access code talker that we also run in the extra deck, with our other extra deck monsters being the 1 Cyberse integrator. If it's synchro summon, you can special summon 1 Cyberse monster tuner from your hand or graveyard in defense. Also, you can have special summon for monsters for the rest of the turn, except for Cyberse, so giving you your Cyberse Sage back into the field to use for a potential Link summon. Also, 1 Cyberse Desave Worm. During your main phase, special summoning 1 Cyberse monster from your hand. Then you can make this card's level become the same as that monster. So if you use Desave Worm, even with the same setup, to summon out a level 3, you can then use those 2 to overlay with Cyberse Reminder. Or if you have the level 3 on the field with your Cyberse Integrator, the same way can then be used to summon off our last monster in the extra deck, which is our Cyberse Reminder. And then being able to target a Cyanide spell trap in our graveyard by detaching 1 to add it to our hand. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, as I said, the Firewall Defensor play definitely does help for just extending more and more into your monsters, being able to Link climb up as well if it's sent to the graveyard as material for the Link summon of a Cyberse monster. So you can summon out your Defensor, go for a Link 1 play to summon out your Link Decoder if it's sent to the graveyard as material for the Link summon of a monster at 2300 or more attack. You can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So with that play, you'll have your Defensor, then be able to summon out to the field a Firewall monster from your deck, except for Firewall Defensor. So with this card, you can go for the Firewall Guardian onto the field as well. And then this play will all come down to what else you have for resources in your hand to begin with. If you have, let's say, the Parallel Exceed in your hand, that can extend for a higher play, or if you have the Microcoder, all of these can also be searched or just set up depending on what you have. You can use the Microcode in your hand along with the Firewall Guardian in the Link Coder for a Link 3 play. So those 3 can then be used to go into a code talker of choice. Or if you have these monsters set up just like this, you can then use the Microcoder and the Firewall Guardian for a Link 2 play. So you can then summon out your code talker to the field. You can then use your Microcoder to then search out your go-to Signet Codec spell, and also the Guardian will special summon itself back onto the field. You'll add the codec to your hand. You'll activate the continuous spell, having your monster set up on the field with 4 Link monsters, 1 that can special summon back again. The Guardian will banish when you go for your next Link play, but that one can be the summon of your Protect Code Talker, and then you can use either those 2 monsters, or you can keep the Guardian on the field and then go for the Link Decoder play to summon the same Protect Code Talker onto the field. The Link Decoder will summon itself back to the field since you summoned a monster with 2300 or more attack. And also having the initial resource for those cards, you can either go for 1 extended play from there or the additional summon of another monster, because once again you had to use it for the summon of a Code Talker monster, but this is giving you your resource on the field for just that 1 normal summon monster as well on the field for you to use for that initial play. You'll have more of a setup as well if you can go for the initial search, depending on if you can go for the Link 2 play for your Cyber Switch, and that comes down to what else you may have, because don't forget, if you summon off the Protect Code Talker with Signet Codec on the field, you'll have the search for a Dark Attribute monster from your deck to your hand. So whether you want to add cards like Firewall Phantom to your hand off of this play, you can also just add the Cyber Sage, but this will also have to come down to if you have the means to add the Signet spell from your deck to your hand for the Link play as well for you to summon. So that may also depend if you want to go for the initial summon of your instead Firewall Phantom off of the Defensor instead of the Guardian, because then with this card, if it's sent, you'll have the option to add a Signet spell trap from your deck to your hand. So then that will add your Signet Ritual for your setup while giving you the initial play to use the Signet Codec to add the Cyber Sage, giving you both of these monsters on the field option, giving you plenty of monsters in the graveyard to then use for either the Ritual play using your Cyber Sage on the field, and then from there you'll have the Fusion play, being able to summon out an additional Fusion monster with with your D-Save Worm, needing a Cynet Fusion Ritual Extinguisher Link monster plus 1 Cyberse monster. So as long as you go for the Link monster and the other Cyberse monster, you can then use it to fusion summon out your D-Save Worm, and then during your main phase being able to special summon a Cyberse monster from your hand to make this card's level the same as that monster. So if you have the level 3 resource in your hand, you can summon that card onto the field, go for your initial overlay of those 2 cards as well with that one on the field. And then having those resources, you could have the 3 and then the additional monsters if you wish to go into the Link 6 monster option of Singularity, or going 1 less monster on the play, going for the Dark Wall Fire Fluid, because then you'll have the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, or just the Link 2 monsters to go into to at least set up the other monster in your graveyard for you to summon out your Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid, and have 3 of the needed 4 extra deck monsters to summon it out also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy it. Like I said, I always like to change up the variants of the different, Cyberse decks that I can build, with the Firewall Dragon definitely being an interesting one with all the many different Firewall boss monsters we now have to go into with the extra deck also. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.